Hey folks, so in my last video I was basically just summing up my thesis, which is if you look at history and we look at the direction we're going, we see a general trend of technology enabling people to do more and have a more participatory role in society than ever before. It's a gradual process, it's an evolution in a sense, and it's been happening inadvertently since the beginning of civilizations and societies in general. So this process of interiorization, to understand the mechanics of it a little bit better, it's sort of likened to this. If your energy and your activity, number one, has an outlet, and number two, is not focused too much on survival, you suddenly have all this abundant energy and thought and socialization that's able to do something else, like this right here. If I was working 9 to 5 and I had to pay my rent and pay for 2 kids and, I don't know, fight off some kind of terrorist organization in my town and the internet going on and off, odds are I probably wouldn't be online as much as I am talking to you. Some call it a luxury, but really it is the more subsistence that you have, the more technology covers your basic needs and your basic, not necessarily wants, but really needs, the more you can sort of develop in the ladder of socialization and complexity. For instance, if anyone's familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you don't just go all the way up to the top of the hierarchy. There's a certain process where one is contingent upon the one before it. So I can't become an authentic, actualized self in Maslow's theory until I have the basic structures completed. So it's basically like, in order to get to point C, you need B and A at the same, as pillars to hold up the rest. So this is very important. So we need that first in order to develop the higher, more complex levels that may exist in society, the higher orders. And really that should be maybe what it would be called, higher orders, higher and lower orders. And by that we just mean, significant layers of more complexity, and you can see how they're contingent upon the former. And that's sort of related to evolution too. So that's basically the theory in the nutshell. If you're completely lost in this language, and there's one thing that you get out of this entire series, it's just that technology can revolutionize the way we act and the way we interact, for better or worse. But as history shows, in the end, and by in the end I just mean in the long run, it may be for the better. Because the more inventions we create, the more ways we learn how to communicate, the more it seems to revolutionize society and create possibilities like this. So, yes, this is the general theory that we are undergoing right now, a paradigm shift, because never before in history have we had a decentralized, organic way of interacting grow and thrive in a previously very centralized way. And my theory is that it's slowly been shifting throughout history. This evolution between centralized authority and decentralized authority can be analogous to the evolution of single-celled organisms to multicellular organisms, or a very simplistic brain to a very complicated brain. They call that encephalization, growing of a brain. And really that's sort of what we've been doing. We've been adding more and more layers of complexity, but as we do that, previous structures are no longer necessary. Structures that bound society together and central authorities are no longer necessary. And to put this in concrete ways, to summarize this whole thing, I would like to say that we are probably going to a network society where there are central figures or focal points in the same way that a brain has general areas that handle specific tasks. So, in that sense, things like in like schools and governments and the economy and media and journalism, these things are actually going to disperse, not disappear, but disperse, become less important as a central focal point, and become spread out as a collective, as an interdependent organic society. And ironically, the more advanced our technology becomes, the more natural it becomes. It tends to reflect our what would you call it? Structures existent in the universe. Structures that have always been here. These networks that have always existed naturally, and we're almost going back to a tribe level. All of a sudden, we can now develop little collective groups and tribes, etc., especially online. So, in a way, we've come full circle. Not yet, though. Not yet. But we're getting there. And I think that's very important. I think it seems like we were so detached from nature and so on and so forth. We're not ecologically stable, etc. I think these are very important problems. But it seems that as time goes on, not only is society becoming more organic in the way it's structured, but the way we're thinking is becoming organic. And I sincerely hope that this collaborative, interwoven, interconnected society can handle its problems much, much more responsibly and maturely than societies of the past generations. And not that they were less evolved, but society as a whole has gotten to a point where we can finally begin to address issues. I mean, the power of collaborative research is particularly, for example, in the hard sciences, to solve hunger problems, to solve energy problems, to have scientists working across the world together, sharing research instantly. These things are now possible, and they're beginning. For instance, the Creative Commons and Science Commons. These things can enhance and speed up research exponentially. So I think we are headed towards, yes, a very tumultuous century, but a century that is full of promise and potential for human beings to finally grow up from our prepubescent stages and maybe, just maybe, get somewhere, maybe go somewhere, maybe develop within ourselves, maybe finally evolve, you know? So I think we have a lot of potential, and I hope we don't squander it, and thank you for listening if you listen to this whole thing. This is what I've been learning and what I hope to teach, and I hope it's inspiring enough to get people to want to do something about the world and themselves and somehow help in this process. Thanks for listening.